Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another CMS recap broadcast for the ongoing draft team tournament. Today on the desk, we have myself, Cardonation, the leader of the Suicide Squad, as well as my fellow member here, Insanity. Here on the camera today, we have Pesto streaming for us. So let's get right into it for a recap on round two, which was very exciting. Had three matches going on. We had the Fucha versus Meow Masters, which ended up being a 3-1, 3-0 victory for Food Court. Very dominant, with an MVP of SimCB. We also had Trent and Jerry's fight the Bosketeers, and that was a 3-0, 2-1 scoreline. A victory there for Trent and Jerry's, despite being pretty close, with an MVP of underscore tireless. We also had the first match to go to three maps today. It's going to be Suicide Squad versus Sam's Club, going 1-0, 4-5, and 2-1 in favor of Sam's Club, with an MVP of Dave with 9E. So, all of that being said, how do we feel about the matches that just happened in Sanity?
Yeah, it was very interesting to see, especially the first map, American Fault. Lots of interesting things, especially with the fact that we had three different match sizes. Food Court versus Meow Masters was 12 standard 12s game. Ten and Jerry's versus Basketeers was a 10s game, and the first 8s game we've seen in a while, Sam's Club versus Suicide Squad. Um, So very interesting to see that, especially on American Fault, which is one of the largest maps in our map pool, if not the largest. So one thing players have noted was the large map coupled with the small matches. That being said, most of the uh, American Fault maps were pretty much a blowout, except for Suicide Squad versus Sam's Club. Uh, Fen and Jerry definitely showing their elf dominance on American Fault, as well as Futia. And Futia, once again, is that they are playing strong. I mean, this is the second week that uh, they've almost went 6-0. I mean, last week they went 6-0 against Suicide Squad, and this week they went 3-1, 3-0. So they're definitely the dominant team right now. And similar with
Oh,
Tren and Jerry's versus Musketeers, though Skywoods is a little bit closer. And do you want to talk about the Sam's Club versus Suicide Squad? Since, well, you're part of it.
yeah, for sure. So this match was definitely interesting to see. I think that Suicide Squad coming in as underdogs, being able to bring it all the way to a very close map three, all three maps being close and both teams fielding pretty good rosters was really nice to see. I also really enjoyed the eights dynamic from a distance because it did have to leave after map one, unfortunately. But despite that, I really like how my team persevered. I think Sam's Club had really great defense on the roam with Danny and Sam. They had Snowbreak holding down the fort as Pyro, and he did not do a bad job either, from what I experienced going up against him. And it was really interesting to see that different dynamic. I liked the map choices. I do feel like Castle Caverns was a little clunky for eights, but hey, led to a great match.
Yeah, so I think that covers it for last week's matches. So now let's go into maps, the map pool for this upcoming round. So the first map that every match has to play for round three is going to be Airlock 3, kind of a standard map in the competitive rotation, fairly familiar to everyone. It's going to be interesting to see how these teams play because Airlock 3, of course, is fairly enclosed and it's definitely a different game style than what we've seen so far, especially definitely a difference from American Fault, um, as well as the 6 RNG maps that will be part of the loser pick pool, the maps that will be available for teams to pick out of, and that is Rundown, Aquarium 1, Forest of Rivals 2, Lowrise 1, American Fault 1, and Bazaar 1. So, what do you think of this pool and Airlock 3 being the starter map code owner?
So with this pool, it is pretty interesting to see because we have American Fort here, which was the map pick for the very first map that people had to play last week. I'm not sure if people will be resorting to picking that, seeing how the map was a little bit unorthodox. People didn't really know it as well as other maps. I do see other favorite maps such as Bazaar and Rundown. Worth noting that both of those are 4-cat maps. They could go a little bit longer, lasting the full 20 minutes. But I guess we'll have to see. We should also note that this map pool in particular has a couple of them, including Airlock 3, where Archer is not very present. Archer's not present on Airlock 3. Archer can be ran on Bazaar, but typically people like to prefer bulky composition. So it's going to be interesting to see how people play this loser pick here. I think we have the elf dominant team of Kren and Jerry's this week, as well as Food Court running the Mr. Bub Dub and Sin CB power duo. We might see a pick of Bazaar if either Team Saiyan or Team Sam happen to lose against their elves, since that is not necessarily a great elf map, at least from my experience.
Of course, people can take advantage of that elf strength by choosing American Fold. I mean, we saw that last week with Trent and Jerry versus Basketeers, how that elf difference went a long way on American Fold. So we might see it again.
That is very true. So that's about enough for the maps right now. We're going to go on ahead and look at the teams that will be playing for this week. We have Team Saiyan, or Pretty in Pink, versus Team Tren and Jerry's, as well as Team Food Court versus Team Sam. That's going to be Fuchsia versus Sam's Club, as well as a bye week for Team Ryan, the Meow Masters, Team Cardona, Suicide Squad, Team Bosque, the Bosketeers. However, it's worth noting that because of how scheduling is going to work for next week, having to play a total of 5 weeks, the bye week does not necessarily mean that you don't have to play your match this week. So keep that in mind when you're scheduling.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, especially that Food Court versus Food Tier versus Sam's Club, because currently they are the top two in the standings. I mean, granted, we only had 2 matches so far, 2 weeks of matches, but there's only 2 more weeks, technically, or 3 more weeks technically, but 2 weeks of gameplay left. So this is going to be an important match to see who gets that very important first seed. Because if you go into the bracket, it's a 17 standard playoff bracket, meaning whoever gets first seed gets a bye. So a very important match between them, as well as Evan versus Trenny, who's also fairly close. In fact, right next to each other, they're the third and fourth in the standings currently. So it's gonna be hopefully some exciting matches. Should be some close ones.
Absolutely. I do think it's a little interesting that the bottom three teams all ended up with the bye this week, which means this could very well, like you said, be the most competitive week we've had so far. In terms of picking a favorite out of the lineup, I do have to go with Team Saiyan for this one. And I'm going with them because I think that his draft was very interesting, picking a lot of the elves. And I believe his team's week one performance was interesting with how much they swapped up roles and subbed everyone in and managed to win despite that. I think Evan is also a very good leader and coordinator on his role as assassin defense. And seeing them play into Trenny, who also has a very solid roster, very good offense, is going to be interesting. I do predict them to be the victors as well.
Well, if you're gonna give your predictions for the first match, I guess I can give my predictions for the second match. I think I'm gonna go with Food Court here. I mean, he's been showing pretty dominant the first 2 weeks. I mean, their team have only given up 1 cap, and they've gotten max caps in all the matches so far. Whereas Sam's Club, although they've won, they haven't won as convincingly. So I think Food Court will come out with this victory here.
Absolutely. So going ahead and present the current standings after week two's conclusion here. Let me bring them up. It's probably a good idea to do. So standings for week two, we have Fuchsia with a 2-0 4 map differential, 11 caps, standing solidly above everyone else here in this tournament. Sam's Club coming in second with a 3 map differential and a 4 cap differential. Trin and Jerry's coming in third, only playing 1 match, however, with a 2 map differential and 4 cap differential. Pretty in Pink also only playing 1 match with the same scoreline besides having 2 less caps on their differential. You have Suicide Squad with 0 wins, 2 losses. Only a 3 map differential, however, thanks to going to map 3 in these last week, as well as a -7 cap differential. Musketeers also with the same stat line, 0 win, 2 loss, 4 map differential, 6 capture differential in the negative direction. Meow Masters sitting here at last, but not least. We do have a 4 map differential and an 8 cap differential, as well as 0 wins, 2 losses once again.
Yeah, that capture differential, you're gonna have to take a close look at that because since each team will only play 4 maps, there certainly will be a tiebreaker somewhere, and it might come down to those captures.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and wrapping up our. Sorry. Going ahead and wrap up our recap for today. going to let you guys know that the next matches are likely to appear on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, somewhere around there. I want to thank the CMS members for putting forth their time to stream and commentate these matches, as well as these teams and their leaders, putting forth lots of effort to have a great tournament. It's been great so far, and we shall see you around. Any closing remarks and Insanity?
No, I think that does it.
Fantastic.
Well, I think that